So I started in business when I was 5 years old. My parents bought me turkeys and to raise for Thanksgiving, and my job was to raise them up for the week before Thanksgiving when they'd be slaughtered for Thanksgiving Day. My parents would buy the food, and then my job was to feed them and grow them and take care of them. And so this was a perfect transaction as a 5-year-old where you're tasked with doing something, you have to grow something, and then at the end you sell it and you receive money for, or the compensation for your time for doing whatever it was that we're doing. When I was in my early 20s, I was working for different companies. I was doing hard labor jobs. I started working for a carpet cleaning company. And that carpet cleaning company, I started establishing a loyal clientele with them because I did a good job. And one time, this lady, she says, "Brandon, you've cleaned for me several times before." She said, "You should start up your own business." And what was interesting about that is I was 23 years old. I had no interest of being in business for myself. But the fact that I took pride in what it was that I did, and the fact that somebody believed in me and said, "Brandon, you should have your own business," it started that thought process. Six, 8 months later, in 1999, January 1st of all months to start a carpet cleaning business, I started up my own carpet cleaning business. It hasn't been easy because in 2016, I sold the business at the peak. And so it looks like I've been successful at the end and throughout, but that's not true. I did have a successful exit, but the day I started the business was the day that I quit my old boss and with a $472 paycheck. I went down to the bank to get a loan to buy some equipment. They said no. 7 other banks said no. And basically I was told the same thing. I have no credit. I have no income now because I quit my job. And they didn't want to loan me any money so I could start up my carpet cleaning business. So I had to find another way, or I would have to go get a job. And I was lucky that his name is Larry. He owned the local carpet cleaner store, that he knew somebody that was going out of business that wanted to sell, that started up 2 months earlier, but it was too hard to work, so they wanted to sell it. And so we worked out a deal. They carried the note, which means I paid them directly for what I bought from them. And so I had my own business. It had a name. And it had a customer list of like 30 people, which I think were all their close personal friends. And so that's how I started up in business. I started delivering pizza to make ends meet because that first month in January, if you know carpet cleaning, it's wet. It either rains or it snows. Nobody has their carpets clean. And so I spent my $470 on rent that month, and I had the carpet cleaning equipment, but I didn't have any customers. And so my first thing I thought about was that if I started up a business, people would call me. Well, after 2 weeks and nobody calling me, I realized I got rent coming up next month. I need to go get a job. So I delivered pizza for the next year and a half, and cleaning carpets during the day, delivering pizza at night, and then going back to cleaning carpet to get a few hours of sleep, and then start all over the next day. So one of the interesting things that I found is that in business, you have to be unique in your marketing. Now, I was 24 years old, so I really had no idea of what to do in business. I just knew how to clean carpet, and that was it. But what I realized was that delivering pizza allowed me opportunities to get in front of people that I didn't know. And so what I did was I put a magnet of my company logo on the side of my Isuzu Trooper, and I'd park right in front of their door, and I'd ring the doorbell. I'd stand to the side of the door, so when they opened up the door, their first look would be directly at my vehicle, and they say, "Carpet cleaning?" I said, "Yes, that's my business, but I'm here with your pizza. But since you asked, here's a flyer from my company." Because I didn't want to cross that line of promoting my company when they didn't want to be promoted. But since they asked, it gave me permission. Maybe we can call this permission marketing. Is they gave us permission that I would then give them my business card or a flyer of my company. And that's how I started building my first clients to start getting carpet cleaning customers. I became a subcontractor for the large restoration company here in town. And a gentleman by the name of Pat hired me. And I fell in love with water damage restoration. I found the joy of when someone's frantic and panicked, they call needing help because their house is flooded. They don't know what to do. And I'm the guy that comes in and saves the day. So I started doing that, making good money. My carpet cleaning continued to grow. And about 2 years, 3 years into it, Pat called me in his office one day. And he says, "Brandon," he says, "I've been hearing your name around town a lot." And I said, "Well, yeah, I've been building my business. I enjoy doing the restoration." He says, "Well, now you're a competitor, so I have to fire you." And he says, "I like you, but you know I have to let you go since now you're a competitor." So fast forward about 12 years later, Pat came to work for me that hired me originally. His son worked for me also. And so the guy that got me in the business was then back to us working together and his son, which was really cool. I got to a point where I was financially broke, frustrated. I was emotionally exhausted. I was physically exhausted. I remember coming home one day and looking at my youngest son thinking, he's grown since I seen him last. And now granted, the kids grow fast when they're toddlers, but still it made me realize that this was not what business was about. This isn't what I wanted. So I went and got a business coach and really came out of that being a technician owner to now becoming a business owner. And that transition was me working on my business instead of working in my business. And so I worked less hours the next year. We grew about another $1 million in revenue with 10 less employees, which is quite a feat. And I think the next milestone was September of 2008. I did something that I swore that I would never do. I took a check, which is a deposit from a customer to do a job, and we put it in our checking account, and our checking account was still negative. And my bookkeeper came to me, told me that, and she said, "Our lines of credit are maxed out, our credit cards are maxed, all our accounts are maxed, and you just took a check from somebody that we deposited and we're still negative." That means I could not buy materials for that customer and fulfill their service because I didn't have the money. And so the thing that I thought to myself during that moment was, oh my God. The second thing I thought was, why did I not know about this before? What happened was the economy was catching up to us. I was focusing on 7 or 8 different businesses I had at the time, and I wasn't focused on my business. And so that day, I had to make a plan that said, how are we going to get out of this? It took me 5 years to really pay off all the debt we accumulated, to rebuild the company with a new business model. But in that 5 years, even though they were tough, we were lean. We actually had to downsize from 16 employees down to 3 employees. I had to work 20-hour days, 7 days a week. I couldn't afford a coffee date with my wife. I remember even one time my wife brought my recliner back to Costco just to get food for the family that week. And so we went through tough times. I was open and honest. You know, going through tough times like that, I did not ignore people. I told them what was going on, and I would tell them, hey, I can maybe get you some money by this date, and if I don't give it to you by that date, then I will call you on that day and let you know it's not coming. You got to figure out what to do. How do I keep the doors open a little bit longer? And how do I make it mentally through a time when you go to bed at night and you're sleeping and all of a sudden you wake up with a headache and all that consumes your mind is that debt, the people you're letting down, the people that you owe money to. And the only way that I found to do that is that I had a dream. And one of my dreams was to go to Costa Rica with my wife and family. And that right there, I had visions of it. I thought about it when I was in my bad place, or bill collectors would call, I'd say, someday I'm going to go to Costa Rica, right? That's what kept me going. But it got me through that 2012. We finally had a profitable year. And it was as of that year, we were debt free. I paid off all my loans. All my obligations were paid off. And I lived in survival for the next few years and to really just enjoy being a small company, enjoy having money in savings, enjoy having all the bills paid early, not late like we always had before. And in 2015, my wife and I were on the beach in Costa Rica watching the sunset. And we shared this moment together that what we went through, this is what we received from all the hard work. We achieved one of our dreams. And it's one of those things that's really emotional. Even when I tell the story now of that moment, I've never felt the satisfaction of doing what I've done and then having a reward at the end. But that was that dream of going to Costa Rica that carried me through those 5 long years. Survival only lasted for so long because I think that once we start healing our wounds that we get in business, we find that now's the time to grow again. What is it that I want to do next? We need to have some sort of sense of what is it that we're chasing. For me, that was, I want to build my business up and I want to sell it because I grew a business, I downsized the business, I rebuilt the business, and now I have to complete the last step, which is sell the business and not give it away, but sell it for a high price to somebody that can then take that business to the next level. So in December of 2016, I sold my business to someone that I chose, that I knew that would take care of my people, carry on my philosophy of customer service, and he's done exactly that. He's continued to grow that company and continue building upon the name that I started, which is a pretty cool feeling.